It's probably yeah. Yes. Yeah. So Alan and I don't know about the perspective of what that question as you did. Also, Alan, did you see that? Oh, you printed them? Just a few copies? Great. Gold member questionnaire is linked into the resources at the bottom of the agenda if you are gold on track. All right. I know, but that's not the right thing. That is the right thing. Looks like we have everyone. Your questions were chatted. Sir, look at that. Yes, sauce. Didn't have that in the soup. Yes. All right. So we are here for our board meeting working session on April the 4th. And let's see, public comment is reserved for regular board meetings. We have to call meeting to order. Sorry. I would like to call the board meeting working session to order of public Pullman Community Montessori at 5:18 p.m. on April the 4th, 2024. And then we're going to take roll. Yeah, so Beth Wolf, secretary here. Robin McDonald, board chair here. Alan McPhee, treasurer here.
Chris Aldano, board trustee here.
Thank you. And Anna Burton, central apology. She had a prior engagement when we changed the dates of and moved this meeting up and is unable to attend, but we are in quorum. So there's a working session and public comment is reserved for regular board meetings. If you would like to make public comments, please attend one of the regular scheduled board meetings. The purpose of this working board session of the board is to interview candidates who have volunteered for board service, update the community on board action related to notices of perceived problems 1 and 2, and the notice to revoke. We're also updating the community on upcoming opportunity to attend the Law Charters Conference, and an update on changes to board and finance committee. So first we're going to jump into the candidate interviews. Candidates have submitted their completed board applications with the resume, questionnaire, conflict of interest statements, and references have been called. Board members have reviewed candidate applications ahead of the meeting, and the interviews will consist of a series of questions and follow questions around the themes of skills and expertise, teamwork experiences, time and energy, philosophical alignment, PCM, and charter schools. Following the interviews, current board members will vote on whether to extend an invitation to the candidates to join the board. We thank each candidate for their willingness to step up and apply for board service. So first, we have Stephanie Bixby. And then I think last time we went alphabetically for questions. Do you want to do that again? Sure. Okay. So the A, B, C, R. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we'll go. Each of us will question and we'll recognize first interviewees. And Alan, if you want to start.
Oh, we're going to first.
We are.
Oh, I think this.
Here we go.
So question is your history includes a lot of customer facing customer service work, which must be harrowing. What do you do to keep your cool? Was they probably worker?
I usually keep a pretty level head about most situations. And I think that has a lot to do with the amount of children I ended up thinking was a brilliant idea when I was younger. But usually if it gets tiring, where I'm at, I usually, when I get home, grab a book and read or start crocheting.
Just as an aside, did you crochet some of those items that we had in last year in our silent auction?
No,
That was able to. No, I was just wondering because somebody did crochet. I know there's someone in the school that crocheted, and we have kids in the school who love to crochet too. Seen some of that thing.
My middle child is one of the big crocheters in the school too.
Oh, okay. Okay. Describe an experience in which you had leadership responsibilities with a group. What worked? What didn't work? What did you learn about yourself?
Opportunities as classroom. I was working with a lot of. I was one of the oldest ones working there, which at that point kind of threw me off because I was barely 30 at the time. But I was the head manager. I was on call 24 hours a day. So at one point or another, I was pretty much running the entire school. And I figured after a while, the experience itself, depending on the person I work with, worked better with an even tone, or with like honestly, like you were talking to one of your own children or your teenagers. It was more of don't be openly aggressive, but if you need to push, make it seem more like it's their ideas, so they want to agree a little more willingly.
Thank you.
You guys. Okay. So we are going alphabetically. So you're going to do section 3. That's commitment, time, and energy on page 3. Or double-sided, sorry.
So, my apologies.
So if you want to pick one of the candidate questions from that section 3, commitment, time, and energy, just any one of those 4.
So you have any clear topics that might be a higher even PCL when your work on the board here?
No.
Okay.
The next one is around philosophical alignment. Describe your vision of an excellent school and describe what role you feel the board plays in achieving such a vision.
Excellent schools, not just supporting the teachers, but supporting the students, having both staff and students feel welcome and feel like they're able to pose their concerns through their proper channels without feeling like there's going to be an issue at the end. And I do feel that the board, it can definitely help with that, keeping the lines clear for how we can follow those concerns and how to file them.
And also, I know that this is the side you mentioned that you have experience with like some marketing.
Yes, my children's father was a professional gamer when my teenager was real small, and he streams video games. So I've had to pick up on the marketing side of things for him to help him keep going because he's also trying to hold down a full-time job along with it.
Sweet. It's like promotional.
Yeah.
Okay. No, there's 3 stars. Or I forget one.
And I was also taught how to do it in high school back you know, when it was a little easier than all the big technical stuff we have now.
Little fashion paper and print.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Yep, I know, now it's not. My middle name does start with B. My middle name starts with B. That does work, see.
My background, Stephanie, is in finance and IT, so I'm double, like, thinking about the weird codes. If I say something that you don't understand, how would you?
I don't believe in calling people out, but I would ask questions to clarify if I don't understand.
Yeah, I was just looking to do the question. If your personal views were to come into conflict with the decision of the board, what would you do? Or describe a situation in which you had a conflict with another person, could be like a fellow volunteer, team member, an employee or manager. What strategies did you use to resolve the conflict?
I believe in talking things out. I believe if you talk it out and able to speak to the person face to face as a first step. If it doesn't work, find a way for mediation. But I've never been big on conflict myself.
You.
Do you have any thoughts or ideas on how you can use your personal network to and connections for the school, either to reach out to the community and share some of the awesome stuff that is happening here financially or anything like that?
I do have a connection, at least one in Portland. He owns his own production company, independent production company that's been well known, at least in Portland, because he's small. He's gotten several awards that if I ever needed help or, I wanted to do something for the school, he says he's more than willing to help out.
About 10 years from now, how would we know if it has been successful? What kind of measurable or appreciable results might we see that would have us know we had succeeded?
Some of the students returning and seeing how everything's turned out. A lot of the ones that started when the school did, see what it looks like when they come back and see how far we've grown.
That would be cool. And I worked at a school for 15 years and I absolutely loved it when we had students come back. Sometimes they came back to do senior projects, or when they were at college, they returned as student interns or volunteers. And it was just, they would be like, I remember this is where I used to spend my time, in the library corner, or I remember the beads.
My elementary school, I was actually generation there. Some of the teachers were still there for when my mom went to school. So when she come to pick me up, it'd pretty much be another reunion for her teachers.
Yeah, nice, special.
Do we have any follow-up?
Yeah, I have any.
On that plan. Yeah, okay.
So, leading to those questions that I started. Some people say, okay, the others work the issue until we got to something that we may not live with. There are other options, but where are you? Are you like stubborn and want to find consensus?
I'm not. I'm more of a go with go with the flow. If it's the main consensus of everybody else, I don't believe in pushing hard on my own thought process on it. I might try and make a point and then I'd leave it at that.
Guess on that note, I feel personally like we're all on the board for a reason, and we all deserve to have our voice heard. So knowing that, if there was a moment where we were all having a hard time coming together, how would you make your voice heard and try to help us understand your point of view?
I honestly would think about changing the way I phrase things. I do have a tendency of phrasing things that it can be hard for me to get out. And I'd have to look at it from a different perspective on my own side as well.
Sure, with 10 people were one person. And unfortunately, that's definitely difficult.
But it does matter. Sometimes the hill is worth dying. And it's important to stick by it when you know something that is critically important that everyone's understands and that needs to be informing whatever decision is underway.
I do understand that completely. Like I said, sometimes when I do state things, I've caught myself doing it, especially when I've done it with my kids. I'll say something and then I'll realize the way it was stated was just off enough where it was harder to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, sometimes it's just the way the brain works. You don't realize what you're saying until after you say it.
That's true.
I was just wondering if you had any questions for us.
No, actually, with all the questions you guys have, they understand how everything fits together.
All right, so at this point, we're going to, once we're going to start those interviews, Michelle and but we will convene amongst ourselves, and then we will be calling everyone back tonight and letting you know whether or not they were selected. So that would probably be later in the evening. I would anticipate
I'd be happy to take that on and do that task.
Yeah.
Reach out to everybody and let you know. And then I'll just say for everyone who's here, we do have an onboarding process. There's certain steps to go through, and we'll give you it all in like little bulleted lists. So you could, if you're selected, then you can work through that process. And some of those items are time sensitive. We have to respond and let the commission know about changes in board composition very quickly. And then there's other forms that have to be done, within like the first 2 weeks. And then we do have some trainings. Some of them are required and others of them are optional. So yeah, you can always reach out if you have any questions.
they're probably like after 8, I would imagine. I don't know.
Yeah, probably that, because I'm going to go home and eat dinner first. Thank you. Thank you.
See you around.
The visitors,
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to move on to interviewing Michelle Bosley. Do you want to go ahead and just tell us a little bit about your experience? Relates to board service?
That's related to work. Honestly, I've been with families together, which is a board of directors, so
It's different, since 2009. And my service there has been largely just at meetings. Like it has not, I have not dive here up in research because everything is, we have run programs run and it's not, making sure budget is where it needs to be. And there is nothing to disagree about, there's not a lot of strategy talk. So it's been very, very long. And then with it sunset, I'm pretty much done with that. I've worked with Boost Collaborative since 2019. It's governed by award. So, a lot of direction comes from that. And that is really the extent of my board experience.
Okay.
There are really well respected organisations in our communities, both Boost and families together. Yeah.
Actually, Whole Foods, I asked them if they could ask school level. They said, oh, one of our people is already going to be on your board.
No,
It took me a second, I was like, wait, you're at the SCP. I know what's happening, and I felt like, my fault, and it all like connected. It's just like,
I and where was I? with families together leaving, Boost has taken over family or been taken over with for parents, kids with developmental disabilities, and it goes up past 18. So it's super big. And so I was hoping that there might be some way to kind of, if there is a need to bring that in with my story as well as support, because there are a lot of resources there. So yeah.
well, that's what I was looking for because it's Berkshire Alley partnered with Boost for, they provide employment services for a couple of our jobs. Like, I'm sure you can help at school. No, I know. This unfortunately is not something that's available, but having connections is always important. Awesome. All right. So if we'd like to start would you like to start or do you want to do it backwards? Either way. It's on mixed school.
Okay.
All right, let's do this.
Your history shall prove itself. Is your knowledge recollection still pretty current? That was, and were you a certified PRH at the time?
I got certification and maintained that for a few years. Kept with it over the last 5 years or so. I think I'm pretty good, probably with basic employment law and a lot dealing specifically around immigration visas. And then a big focus that I had was in cultural organizational change, which is really, really niche and really strange. But mostly it was a field I got into because I just really enjoyed meeting people and getting to know people. That was the best part of it for me. So that's what I miss. Not so much the regulations.
Well, in terms of that, still rough, because like in 19, Israel's changed.
I can ask you the question I asked of Stephanie. Describe an experience in which you had leadership responsibilities with the group. What worked? What didn't work? What did you learn about yourself?
So I think probably when I started at Experience, because I had gone from doing HR in, where we were contracted to do the HR for an industrial business that was 24/7. So it was just all sort of basic HR. And then going into this situation where I was now the head of HR for this really nice business office filled with people who, we had programmers, we had project managers. It was, like so much more polished than I was used to. And then we had offices in different parts of the country, and I had you know, I needed to travel. It was tremendously new. And I think the most terrifying thing to me was that after I had the job, and I'd been there a week and a half, the VP of HR told me, well, you're also head of the social committee, which, you know, doesn't sound like that, but I was already so overwhelmed. I was getting these people to believing I know what I'm talking about. You know, it was really, really scary. But what I found out was that it just wasn't. I ended up, you know, building friendships with people. It was a committee situation. You know, we're all comedians. It wasn't a big strong. I'm the leader. I make the decisions as much. You know, like I was the head of it, but and I could function around groups of people and not be terrified. So that was a very new experience. But yeah, that was scary. Thank you.
So I have kind of a follow-on-ish question. It sounds like you've got a very extensive social. Do you have any thoughts on how you could leverage that to, again, share the great things that are happening here at PCM, provide support for the school?
So that's something that gave me a little bit of thought about the application, because I don't think I really have a very extensive woman. We've been here for almost 7 years, and I'm just sort of, now I feel like been kind of coming out of my shell a little bit. And my social network is like, you know, there's families together, or, you know, I occasionally sing with the Church Street Jokers. We sing the first Saturday at Cups and Cups. You know, I'm doing this thing with a feral cat involved in that I'm trying to figure out to find kids. So, I think they're really good resources. Right now, like Bethlehem has been really, really tremendous in helping me with advice as far as navigating, you know, the 509 process here in Pullman with my own kids. And, you know, Karen Boost has been really helpful. I'm really excited that we're doing Parents of Karen, you know, but there, you know, I don't know how much of that is going to be like real social words. It might be helpful. They're good resources, but you know, I don't have followers on TikTok or anything like that. I'm kind of quiet to.
Don't knock on good resources.
Okay.
Those are.
That was involved in like establishing PCM right before we even got the contract. I don't know if she shared that with you, but she came to quite a few of the community meetings.
She really is. She goes.
Yeah.
This is a long philosophical line is, you could describe your vision of an excellent public school and what role you feel the board plays in achieving such a vision.
So I think a school like this is really established on vision and best intentions. The people who are involved in working here are here because they believe in the mission. So the involvement with the board is ideally to help steer that, right? To make sure that, because even with all of the best intentions, all of the good feelings of the vision, you need to have you need to make sure that that acumen is there and that we're following the processes that need to be followed, even if they seem like they're taking away from what the vision is. Does that make sense? Right. So that's how I perceive like the role in keeping it successful. Because I think everything that you need to be successful kind of is here. It's like there's a lot of, you know, a lot of great feelings. The parents are super enthusiastic. The kids are enthusiastic, so just kind of pulling that all together again and getting.
Sure. This is you. Then you become certified, you yourself, project management.
I do not have a project. No, I have just been around. Same with curriculum development. A lot around worked with.
Then you have a lot of experience in process.
Yes.
Oh, yes. So,
My husband's an IT guy.
Describe an example, provide an example of a time when you identified an area you needed to grow in. Discuss the steps you took to identify how you addressed growing in this area and what tools, methods you used to check in on your progress and measure growth.
I think there are a couple of examples because I tend to get interested in things and then follow them. I would say that when I came to Boost, that would be a good recent example because I think Sue hired me because I had the aptitude, like I was enthusiastic and I kind of knew how things work, but I had no idea what I was doing. And my training was 6 hours over 3 days with the person who was leaving. And that was how to learn to do all the insurance billing and the scheduling. And it was so huge. And so, you know, what that meant was, okay, we did just camp out and take up insurance billing and try to figure that out. So I mean, we were responsible for that. Mess that up and when that's right. The scheduling, I would immediately try to do it my own way because I thought there had to be a more efficient way. It's not efficient, and I ended up going back to the way that she was doing it. You know, it's just, I guess, for me, when you're not sure how to proceed, you just have to learn and figure it out and teach yourself. And, you know that you're doing okay. In this case, because checks are coming back, insurance companies are paying you, people are getting to their appointments, children's needs are being met. So, you know, I don't think there's a real blanket example or answer for that. But yeah, experience.
I know pretty much she's actually touched on most of them.
All right, well, for our school, 10 years from now, how will you know you've been successful? What will that mean?
Honestly, I think that what that looks like is helping people, first and foremost, right? But also kids that were able to pursue their education, because I think that's really important. That they were able to get into college, go to college, and use the skills that they got here. And yeah, like short answer there.
And then, if we skip the question, I do have one more. If your personal views were come in conflict with a decision you made, how would you approach
The decision that you made. So
As
we're in this
before.
group right now. You make a decision.
the majority voted, and you were a nay, the majority was a yes? How would you have approached that? How would you work through?
Practically, because it's a committee situation, you know, if it were something that about which there was a lot of passion or whatever, I would just try to reiterate my feelings about it in simple terms, you know, because when you understand something to be one way, you know, you usually explain that in pretty simple terms. And then use metaphors if you need to, and more forward to try to get your point across. But yeah, practically, I think you accept it and think, well, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I'm still in this question, so I
Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I would. The two questions I want to ask you is, what is the worst part of doing this? Like, what is your least favorite part? What is the biggest pain?
Alphabetical order. Alphabetical order.
Okay. First part, me has been moving. I've got a long experience in the center, but coming into the atmosphere of open governance is big. And the need, regulations, the expectations of the public, real forgiving of the fact that I just don't have. So that's worst maybe isn't the word I would choose, but probably the most challenging.
Most challenging. Yes.
So sometimes they're just really difficult decisions to be made. And I'm a person who loses sleep over some difficult decisions. They weigh heavily. I go to sleep thinking about them. If I wake up in the night, I'm still thinking about them. When I wake up in the morning, I'm still thinking about them. And so that's not all the time, but that for me has been the most challenging, is that when you have a decision that is very weighty, it really impacts people's lives. And yeah, I found that challenging. And I wouldn't say that's the majority of the time. The best part of it, I feel, is contributing to something that I feel is really needed by our community. And when I feel that things get heavy, I refocus myself by volunteering in the classroom. And I'm like, oh, this is why I'm here. With the kids, with the teachers, listening to readers. I was away in England, so I was gone for quite a while. And to me, a great joy was when I came back and I was like, wow. Because if you listen to children every day reading, sometimes you don't notice that steady progress. But if you've been out for like 6 weeks and come back, and you're like, wow, these kids are they're reading so much better. And so, yeah, that balances out the weightiness. Yeah, friend, come on in. You're in the right place.
Probably the part that that I haven't had to read so much legal and technical documentation since I got me, and that's saying something, because my job is doing primary technical research and validation of stuff for research and development at Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. And it wasn't a thing that I particularly enjoyed. It's a thing that I'm fairly good at. And so it's something that I contribute. Sometimes it is literally pulling my teeth to go and read through the RCWs or to read more about something like multi-tiered support structure that the Charter Commission is concerned that we're not doing a good enough job implementing stuff like that. But on the other hand, the thing that makes it really worthwhile, when I look at the change in Alaska over the last year, it's all worthwhile for that, to see how that little person's life has literally been turned around by having a accepting and encouraging learning environment being able to be part of the community, probably for the first time in their life. It's huge to see that, and I want that for more kids.
Awesome. Thank you. But I think the worst part is having to be positive.
Well, that's a real, no, you know what, that is a real challenge for me. If this was in front of like a whole bunch of people sitting out there, I think much better, but that is like probably the hardest part. I think that, I saw the need and I expected it to be hard. So I set my expectations at the appropriate level. So there's really not been a lot of surprises. And it's actually been really rewarding being involved like, at a different level in the school now because now I'm present during the days for the staff, just in case. Just if they need someone to talk to or work something out with, and I'm taking my Zoom calls in the office and just being able to see how their days go and how we can positively impact them and maybe even have an impact in real time and help them through challenging situations has been great. Even if it's just a matter of, you know, helping cover transition to lunchtime, just being a second person and just volunteering my service in the morning. So there's been a lot of really great things that come out of this. I hope to see that, pay off in the end. I hope to see everything continue going and the school to stay open and all these wonderful things to keep happening because we have a lot of areas to improve on and we're aware of them and we're addressing them daily, every night. Like I'm in emails every night, making sure things are getting responded to and I'm crafting my next day's plans. And so being a part of that is just so exciting that, again, the worst part. Like I can't go back and look at these recordings either. I would have to like turn off the video and just listen. And even then it's hard. So yes, number 2.
And then, like, what do you think is the most important trait or aspect of someone? Like, is there a strength that everyone needs to have, or is there, any thoughts?
I think it's a combination of strengths rather than any one specific strength. I think, there are so many qualities that we can all bring together. I worked in education for a long time. I'm retired now. And a quality that I've always really felt sometimes is underrated, but is so important to success is stamina. Being able to step up the energy and meet the needs when the need is there. So, stamina, but, that's not more important than someone being a great listener or someone having the ability to build consensus. So many. Yeah.
Perseverance. Perseverance is so important. Being able to really just keep on pushing through, yeah, and just not understanding that sometimes people don't know the whole story and can't make informed decisions, and because of that, they might make decisions that maybe aren't favorable. But once they have the whole story, they go, "Oh, well, now I see." Because that's right. Like I had half the story, and I had formed my opinions, but I said I'm not going to act on these like a full story, right? I think that's important too to recognize that we get trickles of information as the board. We get information from staff and students and community partners and parents. And being able to take all of that and put it together and find the meat and potatoes, that's really important.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really valuable to have your own perspective and to be able to share that with people. I think that our diversity is probably our biggest strength as a species, that we're able to come from so many different groups and come together and build really crazy cool things. None of us do that in isolation. It's always as a collaborative effort. And So being able to contribute and collaborate and help other people to understand the things that you understand uniquely is incredibly valuable.
And for members needs to be put in their huge out.
So you're here now. From another perspective that we're lacking. Technical
Courtesy, respect, collegiality, stubbornness, maybe too much. Yeah, I think we're going to be successful. We're going to put in the sweat and effort to see issues through, issues without dodging discomfort, but at the same time, respect for you. But without.
Good questions.
Very good.
Really good questions. Thank you.
Muy bien. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, Edward, come on up. You're in the hot seat.
It might even still be warm.
Hi, Edward, welcome.
Welcome for interview process. Would you like to start by telling us a little bit about how your experience to contribute to our board?
Well, I've had any experience like coaching little leagues and coaching wrestling, and right now I'm coaching soccer. We just got done. So, this is where champions are made during the rain and the cold. Whoever shows up, that's who you want on the team. So I've had experience with that, and I also sit on the diversity committee for women. So I have a little bit of formal, how would you say it, experience with that as far as everything else. I know my background is, I've had jobs from everything from working in stabilized to core laboratory to, working with my hands and doing labor. I currently run my own painting business on the side. So it started off as general contracting where I was just being contacted to do painting. So I figured, why not just specialize in painting since this is what they call it. And it was just one of my passions. Just growing up, I've always been a painter, albeit it was not necessarily what my parents wanted me painting. It was more like graffiti. And so I kind of got into a little bit of trouble and went to an alternative high school with that where, it was the education was a lot different. They took a different approach to how they handled the kids there. And that was one thing that really kind of struck me as, just although it was in the district, it wasn't necessarily part of the district just because of the way that we did work there. So rather than sitting in rows, we sat at tables together and we worked on our assignments together. And our classes were a lot longer than the traditional classes were 45 minutes. It was an hour. And so the first part of the lecture was giving the actual lecture. And so the second part was actually collaborating with your classmates on how to figure out, how to do the homework. And so we always had the choice to either sit down and do the homework, take it home. The majority of us just sat down and worked together to accomplish, common goals. So let's say someone was having trouble with a certain math problem. Well, there was another guy at the table, he was, hey, I got it. He would walk you through it. And so we would just collaborate. And since then, I've always thought that, maybe the high school that I got kicked out of for graffiti, we should have taken a better approach for, to teach these kids, because some of those kids didn't really like to sit there and raise their hands. It was more kind of styled in the Montessori, for alternative kids that were not necessarily they were unwanted. That was the last step. They did their GEDs. And so the teachers there really, took it upon themselves to show us that, yes, we did matter. And although that the education that was at the district, if they really fit our styles, they were willing to work with us. And that was one of the things that really, just resonated growing up, because a lot of those kids were, in gangs or, single moms, teenage moms. And they really tried hard because if they didn't want to be having an education, they would have just dropped it and did whatever. But they were at school. A lot of them had great attendance. It was really weird because you wouldn't imagine sort of kid to be there at school or whatever, but it was just the teachers and the way that they teach. So having my son here at the school, I was just like, wow, like that really takes me back to my senior year of high school with the way that the education was approached. And so I've always just been fascinated with that because a lot of those kids went on and they opened up their own businesses, became HVAC, electricians, sort of that. They went into like a trade school or just started like taco trucks and, it was a different breed of kids, like more of an entrepreneur, hands-on. And I felt like that school kind of helped everyone, get out of that, like just show you that if you want whatever it was, basic, raise your hand, turn in an assignment, things like that, where you couldn't really collaborate unless the class called for it. It was all the class said, collaborative style.
Great description. It's like you answered the question to me, about how would you know a school was successful in the future? Because the things that you just described really speak to the success. The kids went on, they were successful, they followed their passions, they had good attendance, they exceeded other people's expectations of what they were capable of. So thank you for bringing that experience. Yeah.
I'm a bit of a believer for the like always. It's just one of those things that being an individual, I'm always told about people. There's more than one way to do this. And it's been proven time and time again that that's the case. And sometimes you need to think outside the box to accomplish it.
It's just a little technical glitch there.
Thanks for having me.
It's just an anecdote for you. Last weekend I took my grass facility to Water Valley, and it was graffiti completely on the inside. And he asked me, "What is this? What does it say?" And I told him, "Oh, that's street art." My first question is, in your background mission, I think it's when we were working, was it city or the county?
Or you for the county.
Some fundraising.
Oh, okay.
So what stuff? Can you give us some ideas?
Oh, sorry, for the city, yeah, the city of Pullman. We actually had a rough start, and so the first fundraiser was just cold call, and it takes me back to playing soccer on a not the school league, but like not necessarily a recreation league. Back home we called it the Mexican League because it was just like a bunch of like the farm workers and stuff who would get together and form these teams, and so. In order for us to get our jerseys and whatnot, we would go to, the local taco shop, the local business, and ask if they would sponsor us. We would put their business name on the back of our jersey or on the front, just like you see on TV, So we would take that approach, and we would do car washes as well. So being on this committee, that was one of the approaches that, we would just have the letterhead and kind of just distribute it amongst like the businesses to see if they would do that, but the way that the committee was formed, we were kind of just like strong-armed into like, we really weren't able to do that. And then finally, the mayor, Francis Benjamin, he came over and clarified a lot of things, how we were able to actually fundraise and where to actually send money to, because that was one of the biggest issues that we didn't know exactly what account to put the money in. But, he did an excellent job where to send the money to and, who to make it. And so during my tenure there, I'm still there, I've looked online for different grants, from Walmart, giving up to $5,000 for the same committee that we're here. And, just things like that. And other websites where I have to have like membership to look at the grants. But I've had actually a lot of things passed through my email, especially since I'm with Parks and Rec. Some of my colleagues have sent me some emails for Department of Commerce to help, get up to $1.2 million to start up like some recreational facilities in the area. And so I get a lot of things like that, coming my way simply because some of the folks that I sit on the committee with understand that, I'm like that coach. I'm a coach, and I believe in helping out the kids and whatnot.
You've had an experience in which you had leadership responsibilities, and what worked, what didn't work, what did you learn about yourself?
Oh man, I'm gonna go back now. I was 18 years old and fresh out of high school. Just be this alternate high school graduate. And actually, I was not really doing much in my life. Just trying to meander through and figuring out things. And I was kind of in a rough spot. And I seen an advertisement on a window for a local Liberty Tax franchise where it says free tax classes to become a tax preparer. And so, I just took it upon myself, like, hey, man, that looks like, like a fun thing to do. Like, I'll be working in an office, I'll have these credentials. And so I took the classes, and I had to pay for the books, they would reimburse us. So that was kind of like my character run, getting me to motivate myself to actually, pass exams and whatnot. And I managed to go through the class. I think it was a 2-month course where I would go in 2 days a week and for 3 hours. And so I stuck with it. And then once tax season came and we had to take our final exams to actually get IRS certified, the franchise owner, he actually sat down with me after I took my exams. Everybody was just freaking out, like, oh, we got to study, we got to do this, we got to do that. And I was just sitting there, cool, calm, and collected. Like, I studied, I should be okay. There's no reason for me to be, running around like a headless chicken with everything else. It's just, if I did well, I had faith, I had confidence that I did well. And so he kind of noticed that while everybody was just, frantically, getting some last minute study, and I was just sitting there, just hyping myself up, like, you got it, you got it. Well, I ended up passing with 2 100s and a 98. The 98 was just because I missed the zip code, and so they thought, and he told me, he's like, hey man, like, you won't miss this because on our programs they're pretty self-explanatory. Like it'll tell you what you missed before you submit it. So I got no problem. So what I really liked about you is that you were cool, calm, and collected. And then he's like, that's the type of person that I need to handle this. It's a stressful job. I remember going in at 8, not getting out until like 12 o'clock the next day. It's just the peaks, just people coming in and coming in. And so he offered me a management position to run my own office. And at 18, I was like, why not? I'll take it. So I had a crew of about 6 tax preparers, and they were all older than me. I was the youngest there. And so it was kind of tough to get older people to follow my lead. But at the same time, like, I commanded that respect, and I showed them that I was the one, because I was able to do business returns, and that was something that some of the older, more experienced tax preparers weren't trained for, but I was. And so that's when I actually proved myself. Like, so some business owners would come in and like they'd be like, oh, I don't have the experience for this, or I don't know what I'm doing, or just, hey, bring it here, I've got it. So like, I never showed them like panic, or I never showed fear. And I've actually, it was really scary because I'd have people coming in saying, like, look, on your sign it says to $1,000 in fast cash. And so what that meant was if you did your taxes with us, we would give you an advance on the taxes. But it was just depending on how much you were going to get back from home. Some folks are saying, well, I need my 1,000. It's just like, no, dude, it says up to, like this is where it says you're not really getting that money, so we can't give it to you all. And so I've had people yelling at my boss, this is a scam, this is a scam, man. Like, don't come with it, they're keeping your money. I would just have to like politely show them, like, hey, this is the door, man. I can't have this function, or if not, I have to call the police to remove you. And so, like, a lot of my coworkers didn't really know how to handle that. And, being the manager, I had to step up and be like, okay, dude, like, I need you to leave. And so a lot of my coworkers actually started to get respect. You're like, oh, this guy's not just a kid. He can actually handle himself, the face of some angry customers. So that's one of my experiences with that.
Thank you.
So it sounds like you have fair amount of a social network. Do you have any thoughts on how you can leverage that to help the school to draw more attention to the good things that are happening here?
Oh yeah, definitely. So at the county job that I'm currently at, a lot of people come in now. So like, I just get to talk. If I see they have young kids, I recommend the school and say, hey, we got a Montessori style school. My son goes there and I have nothing but great things to say about it. So, sometimes I'm a walking advertisement. Aside from, shielding my my business cards and my paying jobs and stuff, the Holman Montessori School is one of the ones that, I can't say anything things about it. I've got neighbors with young kids who are really looking forward to having their kids come here. They've actually done some tours. And when I've actually explained to them, because they're like, well, we don't know because like we've heard some stuff. I'm like, don't listen to them. It's just like, Matt goes to the school. It's great. They're like, oh, Matt goes there. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, that's great because, I want Ezekiel to go. And I'm just like, he would love it. They're like, okay, cool. Because, they think that, it's kind of on the spectrum or whatever. I'm like, it's no problem. It'll fit, it'll fit him just right. And so, I try to tell everybody all the good things. And I can't say nothing but good things about Miss Christina and Miss Beck because they are just amazing.
Like, oh, that line, order and make it. And
My 4-year-old's granddaughter.
I know.
Thank you.
I know. That costume is so beautiful. Watching the products that the kids make, like the projects, the artwork, just everything.
Maps.
I mean,
The maps.
yeah.
A
So
whole gallery of maps.
Yeah, that has
Yeah.
awesome.
mountains. I love you. Yeah.
All right. So on philosophical alignment, describe your vision of an excellent public school and describe what role you feel the board plays in achieving such a vision.
So I sort of have this this hero, and I wouldn't say really a hero, but I love his social bond theory. So Travis Hershey's social bond theory, and I believe that any school that can incorporate social bond theory is just you're gonna get a great class of kids who are just gonna grow up to do good. And so the social bond theory is attachment, belief, commitment, and involvement. And I believe that those 4 pillars will just make any child's life just flourish. Like they'll be able to flourish in those 4 things. And I believe that if a school can follow that, then you'll have children who are going to excel and do the best that they can because they've got that attachment to whether it's a teacher, a peer, or a parent. And so they're going to believe that they're a part of the system, that they matter. And after that, it comes commitment. They're going to be committed to whatever they're doing. And with the commitment comes, being involved, what they do. So it just plays off. I personally believe that if school can follow that theory of the social bond theory, I believe that, it's just prime for success.
Well, I think things come before us that we need to vote on. And for me, at least, there's a lot I don't yet understand. I mentioned with Michelle, learned by drinking fire hose. But we're asked to vote on things like I didn't know what place-based learning was, never heard of it. What's that visionary? But here I'm being asked to vote on whether the school should proceed in certain directions. This natural. I'll put things out there. So how do you approach voting on take confidence on things that are new to you?
Well, when it comes to voting and things like that, like I would like to see like where they're, both sides of the story, like both sides, and then from there maybe I can probably make an educated guess to see where if it's if does it benefit for the greater good or can we kind of table it and just hold off on it, whatever it is. But sometimes I like to do a little bit of research on what it is exactly that I'm going to be voting on. what the consequences will be long term, just to see, because oftentimes, like on our committee, we go over things that really did. People get excited about some projects. Sometimes it's just we don't have the resources or the capacity to do it at the moment. It's not the best time to go forward with these things. And so I just like to, get all the information we can before we can. Sorry. No, it's okay. This, something that.
I think it's fair because like I've never served on any sort of governing committee before this. And so I don't understand a lot and I have to ask for a lot of help and I ask a lot of questions. So that's one really great thing is that we have a lot of support in place. It's just a matter of knowing how to access it. And that's something that I think I'm still learning about everyone else, but there are a lot of great resources out there. We need to know where they are, who they are. So we don't find ourselves feeling that way, which isn't always avoidable, I think, because sometimes you don't know the right questions to ask and you're presented with, oh, I'm voting on this. Oh my God.
And we have as a board tables decisions that at a board meeting, postpone them to the next month or the working session because there are people there who just say, I haven't had time to digest this.
Yeah.
I need to think about it some more, or I need some more information. I just can't vote on it at this time.
Yeah.
And I think, and I think that's, as much as possible, if we can avoid having to do things urgently, and sometimes we do, but if we're planning ahead, then we can allow ourselves sometimes that time to say, oh, we need some more time. We just need to dig into this a little bit more. And I find that I have to do that most with finances and the numbers. It's just, now I've had an explanation at the board meeting. Now I feel I can really look at these numbers and understand it, but I still need to do that work. Is it me? So I actually feel with your stories that you've told that I feel like you've answered a lot of the questions here. I guess I'll just ask what skills or mindsets or whatever do you think that you would be bringing to the board?
Well, so like my little trouble, like on the I had, that I had time is to just kind of take a step back and look at things the way that they're being presented. So when I got in trouble, the school district really just wanted me to get out and they didn't want me in school whatsoever. But I was offered a second chance with that alternative high school. So that always kind of just opened my eyes to like, there's people out there who do care. And so sometimes you just have to take a step back and just kind of empathize with them in a way, just see where they're coming from, just see what's going on, just talk to them, because the majority of the times you just have to talk to a person and, if you're willing to listen, they'll tell you everything, that's wrong. And so that's just one thing that I've always kind of noticed. I get along fairly well with a lot of folks and stuff, like all walks of life. And that's one thing too, that's just, I approach everything with enough fun. It's better that way, it's just, I found that it always works, whether it's, interacting with people in the committee or our doctors and, all these prestigious, athletes versus, someone who just grew up working in the fields and, working with people like that and working with my hands, working construction. There's a lot of intelligent folks out there who just can't really sit in an office space and, do that. They'll do math and they'll divide fractions and they'll figure out square footage of things. It's amazing to me how other folks are able to, function that way. So a lot of folks are, get a bad path just working with their hands and be, laborers. But they actually work with their heads a lot when it comes to, figuring out the price of materials and the square footage and, figuring out how, this trim is going to be how much you gotta cut it and make sure that you fall in the budget so that you're not purchasing extra stuff. It's just, a lot of things like that. A lot of these folks also come from like kind of like troubled backgrounds that eventually they kind of figure out themselves that, oh, the reason why I like this was like, I was upset at my father, I was upset at my mother. And you just gotta listen. So I've always kind of carried that with me, just listening to the folks and approaching it with an open mind. And I feel like just having the open mind of them, especially with like kids from all different sorts of walks of life, is just like something that I can bring to the table.
Kid.
So I'm cautiously optimistic that over the next few months this will change and we'll go to actually only requiring something like a 12-hour per month commitment. In the meantime, though, with the stuff that the board is working through with the commission, the time commitment requirement is much higher than that. Are you able to balance that much higher time commitment with the other nonprofit volunteer work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I've learned is, time management is, so just being on top of it. Whether it's if I have to go in earlier for something or use my weekends, it's been no biggie for me. I've been kind of doing it, balancing 2 jobs and doing side stuff, and being on the diversity committee and then coaching. So it's just they say white space is the devil.
Or how you're doing something you enjoy.
Yeah.
Being service to the community, if it's something you're passionate about, or coaching, I mean, those things, I think it's easier when you can enjoy what you're doing. That's the hardship. So I was going to ask, what role do you see yourself playing on the board if you're selected?
Just a team player.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes. So with the time commitments, usually like especially for this, just like stuff, what would that entail?
So I can only speak for me and the way that I approach problems and challenges, which is to learn everything I possibly can about it. But I've probably spent more time digging into the stuff that I need to get up to speed on quickly and completing the mandatory training that I need to get through for the state of Washington for governance and stuff than I've spent on my job for the last, since I accepted the invitation to join. And as I said, I'm cautiously optimistic we get through this rough patch and it will become a much lighter time commitment. But in the meantime, it is, for me anyway, nearly all consuming.
A lot of background work you gotta do to really dig in.
Exactly. And especially, I've got lots of experience in different contexts, reading and understanding legal and technical requirements for things. I'm a hardware engineering technician up at Schweitzer right now. And before that, I was an explosive ordnance disposal technician and kind of accidentally ended up being in charge of my company's wheeled vehicle maintenance program. Like, not a thing it happened. So I just, I very firmly believe in digging in and, or to steal Alan's metaphor, take your thimble, hold it out, catch as much water from that fire hose as you can.
We have to worry about it. So it's to this substantial one is to learn. The Excel model is our primary ranking. This is strategic. Often weighting is highly complex. It's the only few separate based of Excel models. But I put them on and I understand that the other part of it is trouble. I work in trouble businesses. The trouble business takes much more time and intensity than a healthy. Robin, you've been a business owner, manager. During this time, it's a complex time for PCM. It will pass. And I think all of us are confident the way it's going to pass is the organization will stabilize, find its groove, and the demands on us decrease. Not only because the business will be healthier, but because we'll be better. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say I spend time probably every day doing board business. I mean, the least I do is check emails daily. And before we were in this time crisis that we're going through, I never went many days without checking emails, but I certainly didn't check them every day. So I do at least try to check in every day and see if there's anything urgent that I need to be thinking about or dealing with. I prefer doing it that way, kind of staying on top of it rather than leaving it for a few days and then going, oh my goodness, now I've got all of this and it's overwhelming. I try to stay on top. And I've been on the board longer than anyone else. So, on top of what the board work we're doing, I'm not doing as many of the mandatory trainings because I've already done them. So I think that's perhaps helped lighten my load. And also I was the board chair. Now I've stepped down to secretary. So for me, my time commitment since Robin's taken over as chair, which I'm very thankful for, my time commitment is actually, has gone down to work the way it was, I would say, January, February. So
I'd say I've never had so many emails in my life, but I also know that this is relevant to my position now. And also, I put in a lot of extra time because I do have 2 kids, older children who are in the OEAC classrooms. So they've been through some changes. So I'm here for them. I'm here for everyone else. I'm here to make sure that all of the classes in our school who are below that have a chance to experience it. So I'm here to support all the younger folks. Anyways, I'm here in person, I'm here physically, I'm here electronically. I have all of these things on all the time and I'm answering emails until 11, but that because I accepted that role. So I would say with minimal experience, you're probably looking at a lot of legwork to get into the group, but you probably don't have as much activities as I think. So it's just really a lot of learning, and that's something I've had to incorporate into it. And we do have a board on track coach who helps us, which is nice. And we have a lot of training that helps guide you through what's required in this type of board. But just learning as we go because you're working on compliance. That's huge. So you get all those fun RCWs and WACs. And you're working on finance, so that's so many numbers. Future, present, past, and figure out how they all work together. I feel like a general trustee role probably wouldn't have as high of demands unless you had something very specific that you want to participate in. It's just that it's the level of commitment, I guess, that you'd be willing to give as well.
And I also have my hope, I think maybe can't speak for everyone, but I would say our hope is that as we onboard more board members, then there are more people to share the load and to share the work. And to take on some, like little niche roles or a specific responsibility, which may not be a long-term responsibility. And an example of that is like worked on an event that we were hosting last year. And so it wasn't like all through my board experience that was that level of work. But I mean, I know that you've been involved in like ATVP fundraisers, and you know, like the day of and the day after, it's pretty much all encompassing. So, you know, there's also ebbs and flows of the work. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask about the mandatory trainings and.
So some of the stuff, like there is a financial disclosure that you have to complete within, was that one 2 weeks of accepting a role?
Yes,
For the F1?
and then also between January, I believe January 1st and April 15th, every year you're supposed to submit financial reports because we're a public.
So it's like a tax season. Yeah.
It really is. I always do mine with my taxes because it requires some of the same information.
Yeah. It's a deuce.
The first time you do it, it really is. But the next time, it just like if you do your taxes with TurboTax or something, second year, a lot of the information you had to manually put in is just imported. But the trainings, where there's mandatory trainings on OPMA, the Open Public Meeting Act, and then there's a financial training that it gives a high level overview. It's really good training on our responsibilities as a board in overseeing finances. And then a third mandatory training is on requirements, like what are the requirements for people to teach in Washington State, so that we can be informed when we're making decisions and overseeing staff.
Yeah, they, at least what I gathered, some of them have changed to where it's a annual.
Yes.
That's nothing major. And a lot of the trainings support on track are optional, but very.
And they're often done around lunchtime, so that it's like a lunch and learn. So you can, you know, if you're taking your lunch break, you can be listening and participating.
Yes.
So that is all we have, and we are municipal field. So what we're going to do is we're going to convene on our questions and all the applicants, and then we will make a decision, and then we will deliver results to everyone this evening, probably after 8. We'll be a little later, but then we'll be getting back to everyone. And just letting them know what our decision was. Otherwise, if you are good, you can wait and listen to us talk about everyone, or you are free to go. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for your willingness to.
You want to go in order? Sure. Discuss strengths. And we'll start with Stephanie. I feel also, I will start.
So I'm wondering who did, whoever did, can't remember who did reference checks for Stephanie. Okay. Thanks.
There was one was on first, the other is my father, her children, she described. He did not answer my emails and his phone number. Raising their funds.
Yeah.
So I have a little contact. The friend was just was very, very, very complimentary. Stephanie, her commitment to her children's education, her involvement with the school, her demeanor, as being firm and yet kind. I wish I had made better notes. An unqualified and enthusiastic 2 thumbs up from her. It was not just anecdotes and her personal opinion, but a lot of specific examples of what she thought that.
I think what you just described that came through in Stephanie's interview. Very focused on her children. She described herself as level-headed and gave quite a few examples of how she tries to be level-headed when she's approaching challenging situations.
One thing I did notice was that it seemed like she was having a hard time answering some of the interview questions. I don't know if it was because it was in a big, strange Zoom meeting format. But I just didn't feel like we got a lot of details in the answers. And I'd almost rather have follow-up on that, or almost it should be like a working board interview to see how everyone does. But I just didn't feel like she was able to really expand on her answers very well. With the exception of one. Where she works through conflict, which I felt if there's one good one to answer with more detail, that was definitely it. His thoughts, feelings.
I kind of generally concur. I kind of had hoped that there would be a little bit more meat that goes to support in some of her answers. That is definitely the one that is most important. And ultimately, I suspect that as she becomes more comfortable with the board, she would be able to open up. I kind of get that feeling. So some of that may improve with time and with increased comfort level. So I don't think it's necessarily something that we should consider disqualifying by any step.
Wow, restructuring.
Yeah, definitely.
And be first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, even get a sneak peek or anything.
Right.
I think she definitely brings community representation.
Yes.
Just like
Yes.
the qualities we're using to grow our board. I definitely think she brings the community representation. And then I would want to know a little more information on her. She's told me before, like in parent groups, she was getting into journalism. So it appears she would have an interest in writing, and then marketing for her child and her partner. Those are definitely good qualities to have, because those are things we'll need once we're able to start doing fun things like fundraising and community outreach. So I could definitely see her being valuable in that respect too, and being able to help with the outreach portion, the communications piece.
It's a really good point. I was beyond Stephanie. It's just for me. I would say it's and so I haven't put to set the financial aspects.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Fresh set of eyes and maybe bring some excitement and do things like that would require more of that. And then are we want to discuss everyone and then vote all at once?
I think for the sake of board on track, we have to vote separately.
Okay.
Because we have to record our votes for each individual person.
So,
I'll make a motion that we invite Stephanie to join the board.
Second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I understood that you had some things you'd like to know about. It sounds like those aren't essential prerequisites to your vote. But what are you going to be able to get the information?
Well, like I said, it's hard for me to judge. I will tell you, my very first interview as a human being with a grown-up, I cried. Oh, we left. So I understand that being in a situation where you're being video recorded and the entire town's watching you and you got all these strangers that you've never met interviewing you, I understand that can be intimidating. And that's something that I believe we have resources to accommodate, and we have resources to support. And Gina from Board on Track, we have each other. We have ample opportunity, but I want to be aware of that going in, that these are areas that I see a lot of strength, but then I see areas of growth. Yeah.
But we see you're saying one, sure. It's two, because you're not.
Yeah.
Just an opportunity for a conversation one-on-one as well.
All right, so onward to Michelle.
And I had reached out to Michelle's references. I was able to get a hold of one, and she was she gave a very glowing review for Michelle. They've worked together professionally at Boost Collaborative for 6 years, and she had nothing but good things to say about Michelle's discretion, her ability to organize communication, dependability, loyalty, deep respect for the privacy of the people that she's working with, making sure that they're treated with dignity and stuff. As I said, just absolutely glowing review.
I accidentally called a reference when I reached out to Boost and said, hey, can you help us? They're like, Michelle's going to help you. She's so amazing. I was like, okay, cool. This is okay, great.
She brings experience from two organizations that, like Boost Collaborative does so much for the community in supporting families. And the same with Families Together, which I think Boost's going to take on part of their role of supporting families. So I think she'll bring a lot of experience in that aspect of, providing ways in which to provide support for families and also support for students to make sure that their needs are being met.
Was it her or all of that? Yeah. Sexual confidence, and always. I get a very similar sense that she's going to have a knack for asking good questions.
Yes.
And that'll be really valuable to us.
Yeah. She did ask good questions.
And she'll have opinions, and I feel like she'll be able to communicate them effectively, which is important. And especially right now, in the time we're in, we need opinions. Because we don't all have the right opinions. And I think until we receive input, how we're going to make educated choices. So that's very exciting that she also has the lens from that community partnership perspective as well. And she has experience working with families through some of these processes that right now we're actively working on improving within our school. It's very exciting to have that as a resource. And I think that I don't think she understands how exciting those resources are to us, because she's really downplaying her networking and you have amazing network, like in all the right ways. So
that's HR does some.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
HR does that experience working with people who need really targeted support to succeed. That's going to be a really valuable insight for us to have in governance.
So, on to
anyone else want to propose on?
I move to invite Michelle to join our board as a trustee.
Wait a second.
Aye.
motion passes. Now on our board, on to friends.
So I called the references for Efren, and I spoke to both of his references, and I got glowing reports from both. And I think from one of the references said, Efren will work really hard to make sure that everyone is served and everyone is heard. I thought that, that was great. And he said both of the references said that he's very thoughtful and he's able to discuss. He's very respectful. He listens well. He wants to get input from other people, and he was invited to serve on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for the city, and the person who suggested him for the committee suggested him for those reasons, that he wants to bring everyone along, and that his other reference said that he really cares about barriers that exist, some visible, some invisible, that prevents community members, reaching their goals. And so said he'll work really hard to make sure that to try and remove any barriers that are in the way of children succeeding. And I heard that from his own stories.
And I really like his openness about what he considers conservative us.
And also appreciation of how it contributed to the success now. Like he made mistakes, people were able to accept him regardless of those mistakes and able to help him shape himself into who he is today. And I think that's important to the story of some of our students now, is being able to accept and help them move forward. I think that's huge. And that's something that we're working on as a community. And even within our community of ourselves, being able to accept amongst ourselves and our parent community and our community at large in Pullman that, everyone right now is trying to do the right thing and move forward.
Yep.
And I love his energy.
That his energy was a bit contagious, and that's saying something because I'm.
Yes. He said some things that I just thought were really impactful, like more than one path to the destination.
Yep.
I mean, that is a descriptor for the school, for education. Yes. Yeah. And his social bond theory, like what children need to be successful, that attachment, that commitment, that involvement.
Very, very strong synthesis there, or synergy there rather, between that and the Montessori model is kind of what we're shooting for this school.
So I move that we invite Efren to join the board.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, it passes, and Efren is now
Invited. Well, invited.
Invited to be a board member. Excellent.
I also thought he asked really good questions too. So I'll just reiterate that I'll be following up this evening and inviting all three candidates to join the board, and we'll send out individual notes to let you know whether they accepted or not.
And then we did ask for some updated things. There was some links at our board training not working for me, so I've asked Gina to partner with me on making sure we get all of this.
Okay.
All right. Shall we move on? Next topic is response to committee members and any updates you might have. But I think, Alan's going to have an input on that as far as the financial portion or. Because on the compliance piece, how are you feeling? And do you feel like you need some support in that? All right,
Yes.
down through.
I've definitely found a little bit of direction might be helpful for what exactly we're most interested in that respect. What are you hoping to get from me as still, I suppose is the best way.
All right, we are going to move on to our response to the commission and discuss steps we've taken or any items, actionable items in response to the notice of perceived problems or the notice to revoke. Just asking Chris if there was any support he needed in the compliance piece and really for some more direction.
Yeah.
And I think right now we have a draft document going, which we can't all share together. I will ask Reka if there's a way we can break off a compliance version. So you and another board member with Watt Partners can collaborate on that and those feed into that shared document. I think that'd be really helpful. And that'd also kind of give you more guidance as to what that response wants to look at like, or if there's anything else you found that you think would be useful, you can add it. But I think the biggest piece of compliance is you have the board, right? The lack of board members, and we're working towards that. And then we have compliance in regards to safety. And that's something that I think we could definitely expand upon in our response. I think that would be really good. And then we have the compliance bit around number of teachers assigned to the classrooms. And the OE and the AC communities, which Janelle is actually actively working on having 2 people after spring break assigned to that. And there may be assistants doing that, or it may just be assigning people we have currently. But we are going to make that work because it's important to make sure that we're in compliance with as many pieces as possible. Yes. I will make sure I get that document shared in the correct way. So we're not far.
Yeah, definitely. We want to make sure that we're compliant with the Open Meetings Act.
And then same for the financial piece. I'll see if they can break off a shared document so you can collaborate with 1 or 2 board members and Watt Partners on the compliance piece for the financial bit. And how do you feel you're coming along with that?
Well, I have responses here in mind. I have a revocation notice here and make notes regarding oversight pieces of it. And with the exception of cash balance, we have a lot of good things that we can say. We've upgraded our financial expertise and literacy considerably since that revocation notice came out. And one thing that I would like your all thoughts on is the revocation notice, as many other things. School did not have a financial plan for the remainder of the school year. Okay, we fixed that. Did not thought about what would happen if the school had to close due to financial insolvency. Well, they're not asking us for a wind down plan. That seems rather drastic. We're certainly equipped to make one, especially after our conversation with Dell. But what are your all thoughts on that? How do we feel with that one? I hate to make a financial model. Here's what it looks like to shut down the school.
I think this is important to have because we need to show that we're planning appropriately and that we're keeping in mind that it's not that should the worst happen and we lose our charter, that we're still taking care of our students and our families, and that we have a plan in place to ensure that also our partners are taken care of to the extent that we're able to take care of them. So I think that's really what they're looking for there. I don't think that we need to spend a lot of time. I think we just need to understand what it looks like. So that's how I would take it.
I think I appreciate that. maybe the next step then is to contact this bureau who's had experience shutting down charter schools and ask his counsel how we might feel this.
Yeah, I think that might be a good,
Our Watch partner said that they have plans on standby, basically to tailor to each school. So that's something that we can also partner with them on. And I can definitely figure out, I think it's Diana was who I was talking to, it might have been Reka, but have them reach out to you, kind of help you understand what good looks like there. So you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure that out. You just know, here's what I need to show. And just, there you go, I'm done.
just from experience, what partners have helped us out a lot with just giving us almost like a template so that you're not inventing something from scratch.
Yeah. So don't start looking at that until we get some information. Like I said, I wouldn't invest a lot of time in it because we want to be focusing our energy on positive momentum. But we need to understand that that's something we need to prepare for, and it's important to at least have a plan just in case. Well, disaster plan.
Completely agree. Simply. That's great. The other piece of it, is the last time we, this board, looked at the 5-year plan was in the March 19th meeting, was it? And I don't think we voted on it at that time. Since then, Geo Partners has modified the model to make some cost reduction modifications, and I have with their council on reducing enrollment to the level that we talked about at the last board meeting. Now, those models have not been seen by the board, they've not been seen by the finance committee. So what I propose is between now and then I touch base with all of you on basic assumptions and present that then with Jewel to the finance committee meeting on the 15th in preparation for a vote by the full board on the 18th.
We just do that. We're all in agreement. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, that sounds like we need to move on.
So
we need to have some planning.
a couple of things I've seen just being in the school. We have a cleaning service right now, and I don't know how long that contract is, but I need to look at it. If it ends at the end of the school year, I don't think that that's a service we would need to contract out. And it's about $3,000 a month, which isn't a lot, but it adds up. So that's a service that we may be able to trim for next year if we haven't already. And then also, I was on a call with Matt, just looking at things that we really maybe don't need. And so trying to figure out what that looks like. And I don't know if you have more insight, if you're able to drill down further in QuickBooks than I could, but I just wanted to look at different dues and subscriptions because literally every bit can count, especially if you're looking at smaller purchases like in the thousands of dollars. Over time, those $50, $100, $250 subscriptions add up to a Chromebook. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you do enough of it, it can make a difference. And I think it's important to recognize things we don't need.
And I agree with you. I think I understand fruitfully stand looking at individual ideas to that extent because they might inform our ability to say, we believe we can achieve a 10% reduction in personnel costs. That's different. I
Next.
But who will provide? I'm just speaking for like.
So that's a talk to Matt about. I said a lot of people hire a cleaner for a couple hours a day, 3 days a week to come in and do those simple tasks. And what's happening now is they're changing garbages, and they're doing some work like the kindergarten classroom cleaning, something like the restroom facilities and the break room down there. But as far as the total facility goes, I don't think they always have access to everything, and I don't think there's been clear communication on their workload. So I don't. And I've had this battle with cleaning services in stores before, and sometimes it's hard to hold them accountable for their entire list because it's a lot. Sometimes they're in a position where they're on a time crunch, they have other jobs to go to, and we don't have a direct impact on performance. They're not here when we're here. So if we had someone, say a part-time employee who came in the mornings and did 2 hours, a few days a week, we'd have more impact on the services, and we can make sure things we needed to get done were getting done. And it would cost a lot less. So that's a lot.
So you're thinking of like hiring individuals rather than going through a company
Or in,
individual,
or
right?
just, or
Let's take a walk. So I just think like looking for the maybe bigger,
as I'm going along, I'm just kind of finding them real top of like,
There's a lot. Something to look at. So that's two. So, are you okay if we acknowledge that and yet put a blanket reduction you think we can achieve? Or,
like that.
That's a good way to approach it.
Is a goal that we're working towards.
Yeah. Or even, and it would be some examples. And that's not
Nice.
If we can get to that 60 days of cash on hand faster, then that's going to be strong evidence to the commission we're making the financial choices to be making.
I think based on conversations I've had, just stick to our plan. And even if we can't get there quickly, just knowing when we're getting there and doing it responsibly.
Yeah.
And not inflating those enrollment numbers, because that was probably one of the biggest problems, is that we didn't have realistic plans. And it was consistent feedback with these numbers are too high. And so we were planning on all these students and getting all of that income, and then
Didn't materialize.
And that creates a hard, I think just being more realistic and having realistic goals going forward and being able to speak to a slow and steady growth rather than having to react to losses consistently. It's going to be really important.
So I think speak with some conviction about a major
I'm talking with partners in the community. I'm only having to talk with community partners. They're out of the office right now, but they will be back. But that's something that we're looking at. I'm going to talk to Matt at JGP about, possibly looking at some more restructuring with various partners and seeing what we can do. And it won't solve the problem. It will definitely ease some of the strain. What does that look like? How will that help? What's the gap that we're going to need to close at that point? We're going to be looking at, I'm going to be asking Matt to look at possibly restructuring other commitments through other partners, financial partners, to see if that might at least ease some of the strain and what it looks like afterwards. Gap we're closing. So I think we were at 7 with the decreased enrollment. The last conversation I was in, and I don't know what's changed or if that's the same. It was like 700,000 was our gap and stuff out there.
Yeah. But the good story is, and those partners who make concessions to us. And here's our
And that's something I think we need to also be thinking about too, is we need to be thinking about adding that grade as responsibilities too. So just being aware of that.
Yes.
I feel like that's gonna be some feedback. But you're adding all of these other things too, and you have ninth grade. So you think about high school credits, college preparedness. You have completely different metrics you're measuring, and you need a whole new set of administration which should be happening. So it does come with added responsibilities and added expense. But even with that, I feel that it would still provide much relief and we would be financially sustainable at that point. Without question.
busy next year too.
What?
We're going to be busy for next year too.
Yeah. Busy. Probably busier than the following year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Busy.
Probably it's fun busy. That's my goal. All right.
To answer your question.
Yes. And is there any support you need? Like, do you want a buddy, or are you good with math? What does that look like?
It's like, I asked Matt his feelings. You're getting connections to be a team that works this back up. And he writes down. What that does is puts me in a position where I really got to learn the stuff which I need.
Right.
fit or boxed up.
And then, in terms of our response, I will make sure I'll have break off for you and Matt when we can collaborate on in terms of our response to the commission. And then we'll just have to pull all those documents together.
Okay. And if that isn't practical, quickly, the breakout document, then if you can just send a screenshot of there's what it's like, then
They're really into this like real-time collaboration in Google Docs, and they'll be in there typing with you and you're like commenting. So I think they would rather have you actively engaging in it than sending them notes afterwards. So. Awesome. All right, and then also just so everyone knows, we did attach the notices from the commission to our agenda, so they're in there. And then on to our Watch Charters conference. Here's some fun news. We're going to share some info about an upcoming conference and ways that board members, families, and community members can get involved. Have that here. So the Watch Charters conference is coming up. Yeah, I lost my paper. And it is happening on May 4th, and Watch Charters is going to, here it is. It's going to be a whole day of fun, family fun. It's going to be kid friendly. They will have childcare on site. From what I understand, it's been really engaging the past couple of years. And it's going to be full of learning and activities. There's going to be food provided. They are offering a discount on a local hotel. And we had posted this in Parent Square. I think we'll post it again just to keep it fresh. But they're really encouraging everyone to go. They're going to sponsor a bus from Spokane to take families from the east side to the west side. But it cannot go until there's at least 35 people on it. So that's something that our community needs. We need to make sure that everyone who needs it speaks up and signs up for it. And the link on our Parent Square will work now. It will, yes. So the link does work now. I did connect with our partners at Watch Charters and they got a court. So that is supposed to be leaving Friday, May 3rd at 3 p.m. from private schools. And then it would get you over to CTAC where then you could check into your hotel place. And then for families, or staff, if anyone has a hardship and needs help covering the cost of the registration, you can email info@Watch Charters to ask for assistance. And then I know that there are discount rates available for group bookings for rooms. And then beyond that, there are other potential financial assistances available, but they are limited. So if anyone is really in a hard spot, absolutely want to go and need help figuring it out, talk to the board, talk to Desiree in the office, and she'll talk to the board, leave a sticky note, email me directly, whatever that looks like. But we want to make sure we get as many people there as we can to represent not only charter schools, but our school. So we want our voice to be heard. So that's the thing. And then, yes, I'm going.
It's a really wonderful conference. I've been and really enjoyed it. And the activities that provided for children, the childcare was just top notch. The kids really enjoyed it.
Yes. So honestly, like the more the merrier. It's going to be fun and it's going to be engaging. We can connect with other people who are in the sector. It sounds like a really, really great opportunity. If nothing else, finally just connect with people from around in Washington with kids who like kids. Yes. All right, and then on to other business, appointing new members to the finance committee.
well, on Audrey's resignation and her colleague Eric's, there was no financial committee at the last meeting until I was, the treasurer, then we had one. I approached two people from the SEC officers of it, Kim and Caitlin, both energetic, highly qualified, who brings her tremendous leadership and knowledge of the organization. Caitlin, along with them, her elevated financial literacy. They're both great, would be great members of the committee and would strengthen the bond between organizations as well.
So that's sometimes we need For finance committee, okay, no, okay, cool.
Just the, parts of the bylaws.
So, on that note, for Kim, we have a motion for Kim to be on the finance committee meeting.
On the finance committee. I second that.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Motion passes. We will invite Kim to the finance committee meeting. And then Caitlin,
I'll second that as well.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain because she's my daughter-in-law.
Fair, fair.
Although I'll back up, she does have a really good financial head on her shoulders,
Excellent.
and she does that for her living.
All right, so it's 3 in favor and 1 abstaining. Motion passes. Anyone else? Excellent.
And that's, will allow me to then turn the agenda public. But I don't know yet, but it's a minor problem.
Yes, I know that, Dave would like to represent school, so,
Would you like to be on?
yes. But you may want to talk to him first before we do.
Yeah, let's,
Talk to him first.
we're here, we're doing a show.
You should talk.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, but he did express, interest, and he said that's something I would reach out.
Okay.
And if nothing else, we would like to do the next one. Like not actually participate.
Certainly.
Also, try to look into our bylaws, you know, you can't serve on the board where our bylaws are written. If you're an employee of the school, I'll be able to, but I'm not sure about committees. Yeah, so I'll look into that.
If nothing else, we can leave it in.
Oh, absolutely, there's nothing wrong. Very welcome to attend.
Well, I'm hearing the rest of this.
Yeah, so.
All right, and then, selecting board members to attend events, for example, our SCC meetings. I know you both have been able to attend those. And I think that based on my level of involvement in the physical school, I like that you guys are able to represent other perspectives from the board, and I don't want to feel like I'm monopolizing it. But now we're gonna have more people here too, also parents, so.
Maybe we'll just decide on our upcoming ones.
Yes.
And then, because then there'll be an opportunity, like Efren's a parent, you know, he might, and Stephanie, or Michelle's also a parent, so.
Everyone's a parent now, so I think it would be good to discuss once we've offered and we've had people come back and accept the offer. I think then we better discuss as a larger group and maybe part of the calendar.
Probably.
Yeah, but could we just decide on the upcoming events, like the immediate ones, like who's going to attend the finance committee meeting, which is coming up? You just, and the next SCC, just perhaps two, that will avoid us having to, you know, do series of, yeah.
Would anyone else want to attend the finance committee meeting?
I'd like to, in a fly on the wall sort of context, I'd like to be involved in that and kind of start to pick up more of that language as a bystander.
Sure.
Unless anyone else wants to, I would like to attend the finance committee specifically to look at the 5-year plan and to look at it from like the educational standpoint, because from my experience, I'm aware that sometimes budget decisions can conflict with like educational goals.
Yeah. You two would represent.
Yep.
Okay.
But if for some reason that would put us in quorum, just let me know and I'll not do the fly on the wall thing, because that's less of rules. So, yeah, assuming that all 3 people are invited and so. But I'm just thinking about contingencies.
Disaster planning.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then for the next SCC meeting, which is, when is that one happening?
I don't have a date. I don't get the info about the SCC meetings.
Really?
When? Okay,
Okay.
well, then,
Well, then never mind. All right, bummer.
so you could decide who's gonna go if the date is available.
Seems like a good deal. Well,
No. We don't have the, right?
We don't have a date.
No, we have nothing. So we're gonna pause on the.
Just pause on that, okay.
Thursday, we
Well, let's plan it from late, because then we'll have more people.
Okay.
Potentially present. And then for the events, for the Watch Harder events, I think it's safe to say everyone can go and just don't congregate in groups. No blood clots. Yeah.
And to sit together on the
Yeah.
bus so that you can have conversations on the bus.
So I think it's important that we represent.
Yeah.
And I'm taking a card, don't worry. Yeah, you can't talk about anything.
so,
Take your mouth closed.
yeah, am I correct in my understanding the problem isn't us being in quorum, it's us being in quorum and discussing school, business.
Yes, but unfortunately, there's
So,
perception. So if
Yeah.
we're all seen in a group talking about our cute children, but people who are talking about children, the perception could be
yeah,
that we're talking about business. So we just want to be very aware of perception as it relates to our community and make sure that we continue to remain trusted partners
Mhm.
and be totally transparent.
We do have.
I recognize there's too many of the two, kind of a moment, which
Yep.
I think is fair.
And the other thing, if we go to a conference, if we're all going to different sessions,
Yeah.
then we bring back more knowledge than if we're all in the same session.
And then I did send out, we're gonna send out an email inviting people, families to participate in, a family, almost, focus group for the commission. That's coming up too. Yeah, so and we're all families, so everyone will see that on their parent square. But that's coming, and I asked him for help making sure we got that out. And then other business, Anna Burton, who, until you guys came, she was a newbie, and then I was a newbie, so it's like, you're no longer the newest one. She has been a valuable member of our board. She was local, had educational background. She has decided that this isn't what she was looking for, and she's turned in her resignation. So at this time, her resignation letter is attached for documents. I don't know if you both have had a chance to review it. But we will vote on accepting the resignation of Anna Burton.
I propose that we accept the resignation of Anna Burton as of 4/5 tomorrow. That's the date she included in her letter.
Second.
All in favor? All right, we accept the resignation of Anna Burton. And then I don't have any closing items, that you'll be contacting our interviewees. And I will make sure that Alan and Chris, you get shared documents so you can help collaborate in real time. This is very exciting. And then other than that, we're good.
Just ask Desiree the question about emails. Maybe you would know. Just asking if committee members, do they get a PCM email address? Yeah.
We need to maintain those records because a lot of them are going to be subject to the open records. So.
Yeah. It certainly makes searching easier, and also I feel like for the board email address, because that doesn't belong to an individual, it's continuity and history that people can look back 10 years from now. And it just won't change with.
There's a lot of value there.
Yeah. Okay.
Desiree, I recognize that there's some time in setting those up. So what I would do is invite them to maybe meeting using personal email versus the redacted channels.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. That was just it. That was the business.
Anyone else have any other items you want to discuss before we adjourn?
I just had a quick question for you, Alan. In the agenda, in one of the responses, I think it was, there was a link to the model. Do you know if that is the current model or?
It's not.
It's not, okay.
No, the current model will be the one that JPG, Joe Partners, turned down some costs, and I turned down enrollment. Because we discussed last meeting, 108 average for the next school year. I'm taking the certificates route. So I think it's worth it. That needs to be checked by Jewel.
Okay.
Yeah. Short answer, no, it isn't.
All right.
Good that you said that.
For answer, no.
It's the only question that another question that I have to ask you. I would really like to recommend that the YouTube channel that is being, or with the videos that are being put together by Anne is made, I don't know if it has yet, it's been made something public, is actually sent out to our families, because I've looked at a lot of the videos now, and I think there's some good stories in there, from lots of different, aspects, different roles, and I would really like to encourage other families to consider making a video, because I do think, especially, I don't mean especially now related to us, I think just now, I know from like my own children, they're not children anymore, my own adults' children, they receive information a lot visually rather than reading. And so I think it's a really effective way for us to get our stories out.
Anyone else is like a yeah. Like one a day is fine, or
Yeah, that's
or in.
so we hear that. Yeah, and so as there are not that many now, if we were going to share them, again, I would recommend that maybe Anne reaches out to people who've already made videos to make sure that she has their permission to share. Like you signed up to make a video for this purpose, and now you see it on another platform. And then going forward, make that as part of, if people are submitting a video, it's understood, it's written and understood that by sharing this video with Anne's been spearheading this, and I'm sorry, I can't remember Anne's last name. Anne Brown? Anne Brown's been spearheading this about sharing them. You're also agreeing to them to be shared through the school's social media. You're getting double and triple duty out of work that's already been done.
Mm-hmm. You can hashtag, like, share. Yeah, all the stuff.
Love it.
Awesome. Ooh. All right. Did we forget anything?
Just to adjourn the meeting.
All right, I will adjourn.
Listen to say that.
I'll adjourn this meeting of the PCM board at 7:30. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there with us.
Thank you for attending.